It's Corey and Denise with Does Size Matter, and today we're going to do a review of the Grand Design Solitude construction methods. So if you want to see a particular model and floor plan, you'll probably find that in some different review videos. So today we're just going to stick with construction. I also want to add that these are things that we do a lot of research on, and we go on forums and we learn everything we can about it. But what we're talking about here is also partially our opinion and about things that work good for Corey and I in the way we travel and that kind of thing. So for you, depending on your priorities, you should take this information and apply it to your specific situation. It's different for everybody. So today we're going to start up at the top on the roof of the Solitude. It is a wood trussed curved roof on 16-inch centers, and then it's got fiberglass insulation and then a membrane of reflective foil insulation that is continuous and goes right down to the bottom of the front cap. On top of that is a marine grade OSB that has all of its seams sealed, and then a one-piece TPO roof topping. And they bring that down and then put sides on and cut so that all the seams are sealed. Now, there's pros and cons about roofs, and they're important because if you get if you get wet on wood, you know what happens there. So that's an issue. Wood also adds weight, and water and fiberglass don't really go together either. So it's super important that you take care of your roof. You need to go up there and inspect it, make sure that it doesn't have any tears in it or any places that a leak could get in, and your roof will be fine. TPO is not our favorite material, but it's widely used, and if it's taken care of, it lasts for a long time. I think one thing people have to be really careful with is their storage, because sun, it will really take a toll on your roof, and when you're parking and pulling out, whether there's any low-hanging branches, because that will damage your roof too. So the roof actually has an insulation rating of R40. Another detail to add to the roof construction is it does have a vented attic, so really it can let the air circulate. Good thing. The wall construction on a Solitude is all aluminum, and it's all on 16-inch centers as well, and the windows and doors are framed. I've also noticed that in the actual aluminum there's wood, so that they've got a little more structure to it and they can screw into something and hold it better. So that's kind of neat. It's got 2-inch foam insulation, and then it's got its luan on the inside, and then it's fiberglass on the outside. But before it gets to the fiberglass stage, it does go through a lamination process, which is questionable. I don't know which one they're doing. They led me to believe that it was a vacuum lamination, but then there was concern that it was pinch roll. So I think that we need to get some clarification on that from the R factor in the walls is 11, and it's also important to note that the end and front area walls, as well as the slides, are constructed the same. And that's important. Not all manufacturers do that exactly the same. The Solitude comes with a high gloss gel coat over the fiberglass with decals, but it is an option if you want to get it in a full body paint too. So I don't imagine that's a cheap option, but it's a really nice option, so you should know that you have that one. The Solitude has, depending on the size, but mostly they're larger, and they have a 6-point hydraulic jack system. So you can see in here the hydraulic system. So this will be automatic, push of a button, leveling, up, down, that kind of thing. And you can see them right here. You might get a better shot from over here. So you can see the whole hydraulic jack here. And again, like I said, this is a push of a button, auto level hydraulic jacks. While we're here in the basement of the Solitude, I also wanted to point out the electronic leveling system. So really this is just a touch of a button and those jacks will go down and level the rig out for you. So pretty convenient system really. Next, let's talk about the chassis. On the Solitude, the Lippert built chassis has a drop down feature in it which allows all this huge basement storage. It just gives you extra space. It's lower. The other important thing about the Solitude is that it's a wide body. It's 101 inches, and they do that by using a bigger I-beam that comes out and cantilevers over the frame at this point. That gives you a bigger floor space, deeper slides, better stabilization with your jacks, and it allows the slide mechanisms to go into the frame, and we'll talk about those slide mechanisms some more. So moving on to the rest of the suspension system, we've got a Lippert built axle, brake, and suspension, and on this Solitude it also has the Equiflex suspension. So let's go take a look at those. In here is all of those components, and I encourage you to do some more research on this. You can always find more information on forums and all different places out there. I look for pros and cons when I'm doing my research, and there was a few issues that people had concerns about regarding axles and brakes. So I think Lippert's a pretty reputable company and they've been building these chassis for a long time, but you should always look at all of the information and then take it with a grain of salt, because it's something to pay attention to, but don't get too wrapped up in things. Next, I want to talk about suspension a little more. When you go on forums and things and you hear people's feedback, you want to remember that that feedback is just coming from probably a small percentage of the actual owners of these rigs, or any rig. And I have noticed that in fifth wheels in general, people are sometimes wanting to change out the suspension, and they'll say you need this one or that brand or this size or whatever it may be. And I don't own a fifth wheel, so I can't say for sure, but what I do want to say is that these rigs are built with systems that are appropriate for them. If you find that you've driven your rig for X amount of miles or hours or whatever, and maybe you didn't like the way it swayed or something like that, I'd say, look into those things and learn some things, because you can always upgrade everything. But I don't suggest that that's something you need to jump into right away. Get your rig, tow it, get familiar with it, get it inspected. If you can do that yourself, great. See how it's wearing and towing in places, and then decide whether you feel you need an upgrade in anything. Just don't do it right off the bat. They are built to be good towing vehicles already. Start there and then go on those forums and decide if you need to do any upgrades. Next, I want to talk about the flooring construction in the Solitude. Other than being really nice to look at, it's a great system. The floor actually has a layer of that aluminum reflective foil. Then it has a layer of fiberglass insulation. It has the aluminum frame, and there is some wood in that aluminum frame as well. Another layer of fiberglass insulation. Then you go on to the marine grade OSB. And then on top of that is whatever the pretty flooring is. This is a Congolium lino flooring. So the R factor in the floor is between 35 and 40. So it's quite a significant and skookum floor. And then we mentioned before that Grand Design does not run venting through their floor system, so that also keeps it stronger. There's not going to be a weak point there, and you don't get the dirt and stuff in vents, so that's kind of handy too. Then we're going to want to talk about this stair system that they have on the Solitude. Remember, the the old stairs, the metal ones that rusted and you had to fold up and lift and shove in and they never worked, and you know, that's no longer what you get. These are aluminum and they actually fold up and go right in here. I didn't think that this would work for us because this is just too bulky and heavy, and then it pushes way up, and how am I going to get it down? But I want to show you something. Look at that. I'm not having any trouble at all putting these in. So they're going to go right up in your doorway and they stay. Then your door closes and you're good. Now when you get stopped, you got to pull those down. So you do want to make sure that you have enough space, because sometimes we park, you know, close to a curb or something like that. So you want to make sure you got enough space. And then they see that it seems like I got to pull a little harder, but that's a good thing. That's a safety feature. This isn't going to come down and smack me in the head. So I give it a little tug and down it comes, and it comes slowly, comfortably. I'm not straining at all. And there you are. I like these stairs. I didn't think we would like them, but they're good. Come on, I want to show you the hydraulic slide system. Come under here. On the Solitude, this is a hydraulic rack and pinion slide system. Big slides need this kind of stabilization and power. And it does go right into the frame there. And then I'm going to show you how the smaller slides work. Okay, so now let's look at the smaller slides. And here's a good example. This is a Schwinn system, and it's still a gear-driven system that goes through this, and there's one way up at the top. These are best utilized on the smaller slides, just because of the strength of the mechanism and the weight of the slide. Schwinn had some problems with that, and their newest technology actually is a 3-rail system, which I see this one just has a 2, but again, it's about the weight of the slide. So on a smaller slide, this is probably a pretty decent system for pulling it in and out. Another important feature of slides, I mean, we talked about the construction of the wall, the floor, and that they're equal in strength to the regular walls. But you also want there to be good sealing around them. So this has got a rubber flap seal that goes against it, and then it also has a bulb seal. So when this comes together, it seals up tight, prevents water and things from getting in. The other issue that helps to protect your slides and water leakage and that kind of thing is when there's a slide topper on the, up on the top, sorry, it's like an awning, but it's a little small one that goes just over top of the slide, and it just allows water to shed off and debris to come off instead of settling on that space on top. So this particular model doesn't have it, but I'm sure you could put it on any of them, and I would recommend it as a good feature to maintain your slides. So moving on down the side of the rig, there's a valve for flushing water tanks. There is the ventilation for the hot water tank, the furnace. Here's your 50 amp connection. So this is where you would put your, oh, if I can get it open. This is where you would put your plug, and then it would go to the post at the RV park or whatever. And of course this is 50 amp. Then moving down to these storage bays, this is kind of neat. So this has got that pass through to the basement where we were on the other side, but it also has your utility bay. And in the utility bay, Grand Design has put in this nice little setup that at first I didn't really get, but it's a color-coded system so that it tells you up here what you need to do or what all your valves should look like depending on the type of use you are in. So say you're boondocking, then you would want all the valves to look like it says in dry camping. If you're winterizing it, then you would want all the valves to look like this. If you're just filling or you're hooked up at a park, so it tells you which way to put each thing. So, you know, it's very helpful that way. You've also got an outdoor shower system here. You've got tank flushes. You've got your city water connection. You have a water filtration. Your black and gray tank valves. And okay, so I'm not really liking this Because when you're in here working, this particular door doesn't have a magnetic latch or anything to keep it in place, so it keeps swinging around. They need to fix that. Anyway, so you've got these valves in here, and they are going to be protected from road grime and debris, and they're heated. And then they hook up to, this is where you would hook your hose up to drain it. So it all comes down through here. Oh, wait a minute. Well, there's some more valves here. And this says black and gray. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a system that you need to... Maybe there's a system that you need to open 2 sets of valves. I'm not really sure. We would want to talk to the rep about that. But there's a black and gray valve over there, black and gray valve here, and then it would hook up to your hose here and out to the sewer. Can you see under there? Because I also wanted to point out that the Solitude has a fully enclosed underbelly, and it also has a metal strapping that goes around the perimeter of that to hold it in place, so that it's not slipping around or anything sneaking in there. I like that idea, but there's also the other school of thought about access and maintenance, and I have seen some others where they have different pieces of underbelly that are attached to one another, so that if you needed to get in there and do maintenance or work on something, you could only take out one piece, because I'm not really sure how you do it when it's like the whole thing. Something to think about. So that wraps up the construction video of the Grand Design Solitude. And if you have any comments of your own that you'd like to share with me about the Grand Design Solitude, that would be really great. Or, you know, hit the like button, and don't forget to hit subscribe and join us for more.